Hey, this is Andrew Brown. We're going to pick up where we left off in the live stream. So I have this repo, which is a fork from Duan, but I really want to have this into my main repo. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the internet here. Just give me a second. Sorry, so I'm just getting things a little bit more organized here. So what I want to do is I want to bring in these files into the other repo, into our singular one, so things are a little bit easier for us to manage. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to here and I'm going to open this in my local directory here. So I have some folders here. We'll go into the Omen King directory, which is what I have. And so there's this language learning assistant. So what I want to do is just get rid of the .git file and the git ignore file, or I can just copy the contents of it. So it says language learning assistant, but I want this to be called, rename this to like listening for listening comprehension. That's what I want to call it. Okay, and so I'm going to open up another tab here. I'm going to go back to this directory here, and I'm going to go ahead and copy the contents of some of this. So I want this to get ignore, and we probably want the README, and then I'll go into here and dump it in here. Okay, this repository here, Omen King Language Learning Assistant, you can pull it exactly where I have it. You can find it at github.com/omenking/language learning assistant. But I'm bringing that into my main repository so things are more cohesive. And I'm just going to close out VS Code here. I guess I could use Windsurf, or I could stick using Amazon Developer Queue. I'm just trying to decide what I want to do here. I know that Duan wanted to use AWS Transcribe and Poly. I might still use those. I would like to see if there's an open source solution that we can use locally, as I would find that really interesting. But I'm just trying to decide what it is that I want to do. I kind of want to use Whisper. So maybe that's what I'm going to do. I mean, I could keep using Amazon Developer Queue, but I'm just thinking like, because I already am using this, I might as well go ahead and do that. So anyway, it's up to you what you want to do, but I'm just going to switch over to Whisper. And so I'm just updating my Whisper here. Or I keep saying Whisper, Windsurf, and I'll be back here in just a moment. All right, we are back, and this is reopened. This is has some other project open here, but I'm going to go ahead and open a folder. And where I'm going here is into my sites directory. Here, whoops, here. And then from here, we're going to the Omen King directory. And then we're going to the Free Gen AI Bootcamp one. And then we're going into the listening comp. I'm going to go ahead and say OK. So what do we need to complete for this implementation? Well, for the back end, we do have Amazon Bedrock. And I already have that hooked up. And since it was so good, I think that I'm just going to keep sticking with it. I probably would have normally used a different model. But Micro, again, very surprised on its performance. So I don't see any reason to change that. The transcription is done, so that part of the stuff that we're working on here is done. I guess the next step is to get the RAG working, and since we're using Chroma DB, we can continue to use that. It'll also be interesting to use Zap, the thing that Ken Collins was referencing, but I don't know if that was a vector or knowledge graph or both. But what I'm going to do is go over to my front end here and take a look at what we have for our next step. So what I'm going to do is CD into, we'll do ls here, we'll CD into the front end. Actually, we don't have to go to the front end. We can run it from here, right? I'm going to add some instructions here so my life's a little bit easier. So we brought this in here. I don't need this in here. We'll just take that out. So say how to run front end. And it's something like Streamlit run front end main. That is exactly what it is. Okay, and then how to run the back end. Right, it's kind of that, but we'd have to cd the back end, do pip install here, and then maybe cd ... back. You don't have to run it from the main, but you might prefer to do it that way. And so now we have how to run the front end and the back end set up here. cd ... Okay. The other thing is that you might want to create an environment. So obviously we've created an environment here. I think it was called LLApp or something. So say conda activate LLApp. That is what I called it, I believe. You can call it whatever you want. But let's go ahead and see if we can run the back. So say Streamlit front main. Just make sure that's in good working order. We are not currently running the back. Well, actually, no, the backend code, we don't run it separately because it's just referencing the code. It's basically a single code base. So you saw like in other weeks where we kind of had those separated out. We had to run them individually. This one is all one thing. And so we have our chat with Nova here. Then we have our raw transcript here, right? And let's make sure that still works. So I'm going to go over to YouTube. Let me go find a link. And, you know, if you're using Nova, make sure you check the prices for it. Or again, if you're not, you'll have to swap this out with something else. But I'm going to go ahead and look up JLPT, N5 listening. And there's a few different ones here, but I'm just clicking to any one here. And it's this one. This is the one I know really well, this video right here. So I'll go ahead and grab it. And I'll go ahead and paste this in here. This might be something we already have. So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter and then download the transcript and see if it works. So it's still working, and we have the total characters, Japanese characters, things like that. It's dropping it over here. Now something that, and we go to the same thing because it's the same URL, I believe. So if we go over here and take a look here, this one is called what? It is, this one's SY7. Yeah, so it's the same one, and so it would just replace the file there. We were having a chat history issue here with the top one. I don't know if I really care about that too much, but I do care about structured data. So it says, transform YouTube transcripts into interactive Japanese learning experiences. This tool demonstrates base LM capabilities, RAG, stuff like that. So the structured data processing, dialogue extraction will be implemented here. Structured data view will be implemented here. So we have this and this, dialogue extraction, data structure. So I'm going to go over to here and just kind of get an idea of what we're looking for. So maybe we can ask Windsurf what it is that it wanted us to do. So if we go into here, I'm looking for structured data. Because clearly, like, you know, we have the data and we could just dump it and so it reads it every time, but wouldn't it make more sense if we kind of structured it in some way? Because it's just a big blob of text. So one thing we might want to do, we have text clean, dialogue extraction, data structuring. So we know that there is a pattern. There's an introduction to the audio. One second, maybe I'm going to get the audio sound in here so you can hear stuff. So now I have the audio sound turned on. And what I want to do is I want to go just play a little bit of it so you have an understanding of what's going on. Okay? So we have this intro part that's going to explain. I don't see my audio picking up here. Just give me a moment to set the audio settings. Just 1 second. All right, so now we should be capturing the audio. I'm going to play a little bit of it so you understand the structure of it. If you use something other than Japanese, you have to figure out what structure is underneath here. So let's listen for a second. So it opens up the intro.
日本語能力試験
So it's
完
reading the
全
title.
模試 N5 第2回懲戒これから N5 の懲戒試験を始めます。メモを取ってもいいです。
Saying like, oh, it's good to have a memo book for the test, right? They're just doing a slight introduction. They just basically read the title, and now they're just saying like, you know, have a memo book ready for the test.
問題用紙を開けてください。
They're saying, let's talk about the first Mondai Yoshio. So we're looking at the first question.
問題1。問題1では、はじめに質問を聞いてください。それから話を聞いて、問題
They're explaining the format of the question. So they're saying like, you know, you're going to be listening something and you have 1 to 4 options and you have to choose the correct option.
用紙の1から4の中から一番いいものを一つ選んでください。
Erande mean like to choose the correct answer, right?
では、練習しましょう。
So now we're at our first question, right? So there's clearly stuff in the beginning that is junk that we want to pull out of there that we don't need. But it does tell us, you know, what the setup is. And so now we're on to this part where we have these 4 options. And so it's always going to do the same pattern. It's going to introduce something, have a conversation, and then ask what the correct answer is.
例、
家で女の人が男の人と話しています。女の人は男の人に何を出しますか？今日は寒いですね。温かいものを飲みませんか？
ありがとうございます。
コーヒー、紅茶、あとお茶もありますけど。
So they're just asking, that was the exact same thing I talked about. This is the exact scenario.
じゃあ、紅茶をお願いします。
砂糖やミルクは入れますか？
あ、
saying like, did you want milk and like I want tea, but I want milk and
Hi.
milk and sugar. He goes, yes. And now there's a beep. And so now what's going to happen is it's going to explain.
女の人は男の人に何を出しますか？
And so now they're asking what was the scenario, and then you
一
wait for a
番いい
second.
ものは3番です。回答用紙の問題1の例のところを見てください。
Okay. So that's the pattern, right? And at the end, there's probably some junk there. So there's some stuff at the beginning and the end of the transcript, which is not useful. But what we need are those questions extracted out. And so maybe what would be useful is to take the data and to break it out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the structured data. And I'm going to say, we'll say, I have a transcript and I need to extract. I have a transcript of a JLPT listening practice test. I want to extract all the questions out. I need to extract it in the following way. We have introduction, conversation, and then question. Okay. And then we have answer. I don't know if they say the answer every time. Let's go listen for a second.
2ページから4ページは書く問題で、4ページには漢字の問題もあります。はじめに聞く問題をします。
This is a different
時
question.
間は10分です。では、問題を開けてください。
Does that ping?
学生は、はじめに、どのページを開けますか？
Which page?
Samban.
So they never said what the answer was, right? And that's fine. And so we'll go back over to here. Let's say I have a transcript of the JLPT practice test and I want to extract all the questions out. I need to extract it into the following structure per question. I want to use Amazon Bedrock with the Amazon Nova micro model. I have other code that can be used to figure out how to write the code over in file get transcript. I want the implementation for the data structure to be written in the structured data file. There we go. And so we'll go ahead and I'm going to put this to write mode. You can use whatever you want to accomplish what you need to do. And I'm hoping what it will do is it's going to go in that transcript and kind of follow the coding conventions that Duan produced, right? So we'll see what happens here. And I'm hoping that this cascade will not create files that already exist. That's totally fine. And so I'm hoping there it will go and produce that code for us, and then we can review it. And then if it dumps it out into the extracted view, will be a good place. You know, I just updated Windsurf, and it's asking me to update again. So you know, I do update them, but sometimes it just ignores it. Okay, so we'll give it a moment to go through its implementation. I also noticed this is new, maybe? I'm not sure. MPC servers, I'm not sure what that is. As soon as I paused, I got code. So here we can see it's kind of following the structure. We have introduction, conversation, question. We have a dictionary. We have this format. It's using Amazon Bedrock. It's using Anthropic Claude. So it's not doing what I asked it to do. It's using Claude, which is fine, but I don't want to use Claude. We have structured transcript. Please analyze the listening practice test script for this. Format it out. Yeah, I guess that's fine. Invoke Bedrock. And, we're going to go here and be like, hey, okay, You didn't use the Amazon Nova micro model. You know, I don't want back JSON. Make it text. Just because JSON can be a little bit tricky, and I don't know if we have any ways of formatting that. Structured JSON is a very hard thing to do, and it's not what I want to be doing right now. No, it says Titan text model Nova Micro. It keeps talking about Titan text. I don't know if it's like confused or not, but like that's not what I'm asking for. But we'll see what it does. Okay. So now we have something returned here, and it's done some major changes. It's still not doing. Look, like I told it. Like, look, you aren't listening. You know, in get transcripts. Oh, sorry. Maybe like check the code in chat. I think I gave it the wrong file. That's why I was confused. To see what I mean with my Amazon Nova Micro. And please review to see how to best keep the code consistent. I think it's because get transcripts just downloads it, and so I kind of gave it the wrong thing. So we'll let it try again, okay? All right, let's see what code we have here. So if we take a look here, transcribe structurer, which is fine. So here now we have it initializing Amazon Bedrock, the model ID. We have the structured stuff. So here's saying break down the GLPT practice transcript into for each question formatted like this. We have question, introduction, introduction text, conversation, introduction, conversation, question. Oh, there we go. Okay, here's the transcript. And then we have the role user. We go down here. Is it using the model we asked it to use? I mean, at least the code is shorter, so I'll definitely take that. Oh, and it's using Nova Micro. So yeah, there we go. Now, I guess my next question is like, can we get it to actually call it has saved the question, structure the transcript? Okay, so let's go here. And if we take a look at this one here, maybe we can try to follow the pattern that Duan has. What's really interesting is you can put a main in here, and I guess it doesn't trigger it, even if you import it. So it says Bedrock chat. This isn't Bedrock chat. This is going to be called transcript structurer. And then we don't need a while true. What we need to do is, let's just say structure. Yeah, there we go. I mean, it's actually from transcripts. / here. And I'm going to go ahead and just rename this. I'm not sure where it thinks it's going to save, but we just want to get the output. So if we take a look at this for a second, this is going to produce an output, and then we can save it separately. And I don't know if I actually care for its implementation for that, but I'm going to go ahead and we'll just do a print on the structured text. Okay, so now we have that. I'm going to stop this. I want to go into the backend. I mean, you could also probably just run it from here. So say Python, backend, structured data. So it's saying transcripts no file here. That's all. Let it solve it on its own, but the file is clearly there. But maybe it's because it's within backend. I'm not sure. Look, the file already exists. Check the tree structure. So we're just going to help it a little bit to tell it to look for it. Okay, and so now it's kind of working through that now. And that was pretty simple. Just put / backend there. I don't know if it's going to affect it if we do it from other directories. But here you can see it was instantaneous output back. And so, I mean, we have stuff, but it's not formatting it. Right? So, makes me think that it might not be working. So I'm going to go up to here. And so here we have the prompt here. And then the temperature set to 0, so it's super creative, which is fine. I don't care. And we get a response back. And I didn't notice any difference. Okay. So what I want to know is like, can you go to the web? So say web, can you go and find the model IDs for the Amazon Nova models? Because, 1.0 is good for like basic tasks, but for whatever reasons, it's not structuring it. So either there's something wrong with our code, the way we pass this in here, or this model is not picking it up here. So I'm just gonna, interrupt the current one here, and we'll hit enter. And so I'm hoping what it'll come back with is those model IDs, and then I can just swap them out. So we'll just give that a moment, okay? So here we go. We have a few here. There's also premium, but I don't want to use premium. I mean, premium's fine. I just don't want to spend a bunch of money if it's expensive. But anyway, so we have that one already. Then we have model ID, which is this one here. And then we have Nova Pro. Okay, and so I'm going to switch it over to light. And we're going to try this again. Getting a little bit confused, it's being a little bit aggressive here. No, I don't want that commented out. And we'll go down here and we'll run it again. We'll see what happens now. Okay, so I'm going to switch it out again. And this time I'm going to do this one. I'm not sure what it's confused about. Just, it's fine. Just come on, accept it. There we go. And so I'm going to try to run this with Nova Pro. See what happens. So I'm going to go back here and say, no matter what model ID I use, the output from structured transcript doesn't produce the formatting. It just returns the transcript as is. So there might be something with our messages wrong here because we have user content, but that's the user there, so it should reply with the proper stuff, right? Oh, you know what it is? It's loading the questions here. Hold on. We have load questions. So I would say like load transcript actually instead. It actually makes sense what it's doing. Yeah, we'll change that out. And so here, this is fine. This is just the transcript. And then what we actually want to do is we want to say structure transcript, and we'll print it out. So now we'll go back to the micro. And we'll wait a moment and we'll see what happens, okay? Now it's taking a little bit longer. I mean, the other one was fast because it was just loading a file. It wasn't even hitting the endpoint. But it did have a lot of data, and the context was pretty large. So I'd say that's pretty good. I don't know how many questions there are. 17. It's showing 17 here. So, how would I know if that's all of them? I wouldn't. At least it's being kind of consistent with the formatting. I'm not sure why here it does curlies around it, but if it's consistent in terms of the output, then I don't really care, right? That's like all that matters to me is that it's consistently doing the same thing. The other thing that I want to do is I want to probably chunk it. I'm just going to move to sitting here. But what I'm thinking is that we have it, but I would like to individualize the stuff here. Okay. I'm gonna run it again. I'm gonna see if it produces the same output. But once our data is structured, it's not like we have to run this multiple times, so it's not a big deal if it breaks. It's more just getting our data in our structured format that we want. I just can't believe the conversation would be this short, right? So it has this. I think it might not know that there's a start and a finish. Let's go back to the top here. And let me look at the first question and see if there's a problem. Yeah, so the problem is that our prompt doesn't realize that there is an intro and an outro before it introduces the questions. Can we update our prompt to not include these and only extract the questions? Okay. I can just tell because I'm looking at it here and I'm seeing like, that's the first thing where they're talking about it. I see N5, whatever. This section also, I think, well, this says 2 people, so that looks like it's correct. And we'll see what it's updated with. About the test, focus on extracting the actual questions. Yeah, and you can actually see that it always says the number here, I think. Yeah, it does. So if we go to the last one, I mean, some of these conversations seem too short. Like, how can that be the whole thing? Okay, so we'll go ahead and say accept all. And I'm going to go ahead and run this again. So, as Kara said, garbage in, garbage out. So if you don't do a good job formatting your data, then you might have something that's not that great. Okay, so I'm not really sure. Here it translated it. 2 people are discussing. So the LLM returned English. It should only return Japanese because the whole So here, we say the situational step in the Japanese text. Of Japanese text. Of Japanese text. Do not translate the Japanese text into English. Okay. And so we'll try this again, and then we'll see what we get. And so now we have this, but notice like there was a bit of inconsistency. So we have the question. Well, the question's fine here. But we don't tell it to format the question like this. Right? So that's a bit confusing. Maybe what we can do is we can say like question like this. I'd rather like have this kind of selection around it. Like this. And then maybe this will help it understand. Okay, so I'm going to change it to that format. We'll see what we get now. Because we're really trying to see if we can get consistent formatting here. Conversation. So notice another thing, it's like repeating conversation, right? Why? Why is it doing that? So let's go to the first one, which I know really well. We'll go all the way to the top, wherever that is. Yeah, I'm not sure why it's doing that, because there's not going to be two conversations, right? Here it's actually showing us the possible choices, right? Te o mitai kara mondai o. So what I'm trying to figure out, like, is that the last one? If I go to this one here. This one has 3 options too.
近くの駅まで行きます。コーヒーを飲みたい。
3の中から一番いい3要はじめいえ
50
が好き
帰
So at the end they're giving
バ
the
スで行きます
answers.
県をとても遠い
The last one's a little bit weird. I think maybe because the format of the question changes. Here it is. Oh, there's 3 types of question formats. The Mondai 3. Right? So this is where we're running into a problem, because I didn't realize that there's a section here. This is Mondai 1, so like question 1. So this is going to follow a particular format of 1 and 4, right? And so then in here, we have 3, and this follows a different format. This is between 1 and 3 options. I think what it's playing is like it plays out a story, and then you have to listen to multiple points for it, right? So this is where this is kind of messed up. I'm going to commit this right now. I just want to kind of have access to this code before I change it. And maybe I'll just open this in Visual Studio Code real quick. Or GetX, or SmartX. Keep talking about using Get Smart. I'm going to go use it. I'm going to get smart right now and use it. And here it says, evaluations ends in 6 days. And you need a registered license. Oh, maybe I'm not paying for this. That's kind of annoying. But I'm in this is the wrong repo, but I'm going to switch over to a different repo. Trying to remember how to switch repos in this file, or maybe just add it up here. And that is the repo. There we go. And so these are all fine. So I'm just going to commit this. Working for the transcript formatting. This is probably the hardest part, is just trying to format the these transcripts. And it really depends. Like, we could use it to do it manually, or what we could do, because there's only 17 questions, but the other thing that we could do is we could also, I don't know, it depends, because there's a whole playlist. It'd be sweet if we could pull the whole playlist. But what I'm going to do is go back over to here, and I want to explain, like, the transcript appears to have 3 question formats. 3 sections, with each section having a different question format. And each section explains the question format. So we need to change our prompt to extract out those 3 sections, the description of the format, and then the questions. Okay, so let's see what it does for that. And it'll take a look there. But if we're getting inconsistencies with micro, then we might want to move up one layer and then try to use light, as it might give us more consistent stuff. We also have it set to 0. So that means that it should be wildly consistent. So you're suggesting section format explanation Japanese, introduction, situation. Okay. So it's updated it. Exactly as is, ignore any practice examples. Marked with that. I mean, I guess so. I'm not sure why it's saying marked with that. I don't know what this character means. So let's go take a look at what that means. So I can go here. I'm going to go to G-Show. And we'll paste this in here and we'll say kanji. And so this is example customer usage. Okay. But why? Why can't we use that? I don't know. This is where you have to really be a domain expert of the content, and I'm not. So we'll do our best here. But we'll go ahead, and we ran this, I think. Did I just run this right now? No. But I'm going to go ahead here and just type in clear. And we'll give it a moment here. And so now we have our different formats. Let's see if we can make sense of it. So here we have a section. It describes the section 1 to 4. Doesn't say how many there's going to be. Then we have our first question. Then we have our second question. We have our third, fourth. I'm waiting for the next section to start. Question. Question. Then we have a section here. Now, what we might want to do, and it depends, but like, if we wanted this to be a bit better, we might say, hey, like tell it, like, hey, there are 3 sections and only extract out section 1. But right now, I'm not sure if that really matters. Then we have this one where it's saying between 1 to 4 questions. Okay, so we have this one, which is fine. And then we have this section, which is a bit different, where we have a question, okay. So I guess if maybe we should dump the contents here. So what I'm going to do is dump this here. Let's see if we can save this. We'll say structurer, save questions, backend questions, right? So that will be that. And so this way we can then analyze that file and ask if it did a good job. We'll run it again, and then we'll let it dump. We don't even need to have this here. This can get out of here. But this is going to be the hardest part, is just structuring the data. That's pretty much everything else after this should be really easy. And so I'm going to go back over to our transcript here. I didn't create it. So maybe because it doesn't have that folder, it couldn't do it. Here we have this. I'm going to make a new folder here. I'm going to call it data. And I'm going to put transcripts in here. And I'm going to go here and make another folder. And questions. And then I'm going to go ahead here and say data. And this way it should hopefully work, because I don't think this thing can create folders. So it either has to be there or it's not. And we'll give it a moment here. And now we have it, right? So checking our output under questions, under questions folder. Does the structure, outputted structure, make sense? Does section 3 in particular make sense? Because again, what I understand section 3 is, it's going to ask you a series like information that you try to choose a series of questions. And so we'll see if it analyzes that file properly. It's not about matching phrases to situational visual cues. Means while looking at the picture illustration, the current format doesn't properly reflect this. For section 3, the current structure is forcing conversations where there aren't any. Instead, it should be more like this. Question, situation, options, question. Okay, and so it's going to go update it. Now, one other interesting thing, I didn't think about this when I was making it, is that we see an image, right, that describes something. Do we need to generate out an image for this to work, like to make it really clear? And so that might be something that we might care about. Clearly distinguish between the different types of questions in each section. Okay. Okay, and we'll take a look back at our prompt that we have here. And so it says, conversation has a situation setup, contains a question, asks a question about the conversation. Phrase matching questions. Show a situation, ask what phrase to use in that situation. No conversation involved. Format the output like this. Okay, good. So now we have improved output. And I'm going to go ahead and delete this. You can see how WinSurf's really easy because you can analyze the file in place and then fix it. We'll go ahead and do that and run this again, and we'll see what we get as our output. And so we'll go back over to here. Again, using a very cost-effective model, which is nice. And so we have very little data in here. There's no way this is all of it, right? Okay, so it looks like the seems too short. Can we break up this task so that there are 3 LLM calls and 3 prompt documents, each responsible for extracting out the sections, each responsible for extracting one of the sections. Okay, and then save the output of each section separately. Okay, and so let's go ahead and do that. And so it'll rework the code there, and we'll give it a moment. Now, will it be smart about refactoring the code? That's another story that we're not sure about. But, you know, we don't need to focus on every single section. We could have even told it just to focus on Monday 1 type format questions because those are the first ones we're looking at. But we'll see what we get here in a moment. All right, it's generated an update here. And so let's take a look at what it's done. So we have the first prompt. I'm just going to accept it so I can easily see the output here. But we have prompts. And we have prompt number 1, prompt number 2, prompt number 3. We have invoke bedrock. I'm not sure why I gave it an underscore, but that's totally fine. And if we go all the way down the bottom, it's using the Converse API. I don't know if we really, like we can use the Converse API, but since these are all single action, it's not really necessary. But we do get a consistent API that we get to use here. So we have prompts. Try to make sense of prompts. Okay, so here it's running the sections 1 to 4. Are there 4 sections? I only see 3. Maybe it stops on 3. I don't know. But let's go ahead and give it a go and see what happens. But yeah, now I'm wondering, like, do we need the images? Because if you don't have an image, how would you know what to choose? Right? And now we'll give this a refresh here. And so we have section 1. Section 2. Section 3. So we have a lot more text now. Okay. What's kind of weird is like they put the section up here at the top, but that's totally fine, I guess. But now I'm just kind of thinking like, okay, we have this here. Where you need to say the appropriate. It's interesting that it describes the format up there in English. This one's in Japanese. This one's in Japanese. So it's not being consistent in terms of that stuff. I mean, I don't really care about the format description, because that doesn't really matter to us. What matters to us is the extraction of these questions. And so I guess I care more about the initial questions. I'm not sure why it's doubling it up here on this one. It is doubling it up on here as well. So they'll say, you know, look at the outputted, let's delete this one here. Maybe we can just take a look at the actual prompt here. Back over to here. Hold on here. Let's take a look at this prompt because it seems a little bit of confusion here. So we have question, introduction, section, format description. I mean, we don't need the format question description in the actual thing here. I'm going to switch it to, what happened to our other model? We'll go back here, say model ID equals Amazon.nova light. And let's try to swap that out and see if we get a better result. We might not, but there's a few things we don't really need here. And so you can see we could be spending a lot of time trying to get this data to be the structure that we want it to be. That's probably where you have to spend a lot of your time, yeah. So we'll give it a moment here to generate. So now if we give this a refresh here, we have our sections. I see no doubling up here anymore. This one's not doubling up anymore. It is getting a bit confused about what to show here. Notice this like says a section here, and we'll go here. So, okay, so looking at the generated questions, generated output, I don't need the sections to be described within the questions output because we already know what they are based on the prompt. Can we get that? So can we only have questions in our outputted prompt data or outputted questions data? Okay, we'll see if it can correct that. And so, you know, some of the formatting looks wrong, but I'm just hoping if it removes it completely, then we'll end up with that. So then we don't have to worry about whether this is English or whatever, and we can just kind of move on from that like that. The other thing I'm not sure about is like, would a vector store even make sense for this? Because vector store is for storing highly relational data, right? Or not highly relational data, but like semantic data. I don't know, because this has a structure, I almost kind of go, well, maybe it should not be that, but we'll see what happens. I'll remove all 3 prompts. I've updated all 3 prompts to remove any section formats descriptions from the output. Add explicit rules to not include any section description or other text. Should be only the output. Okay, and so I'm going to go ahead and try to run this again. So we'll go ahead and delete this. We really should check over the prompt, but I'm just going to go ahead and do this first. And so this might just kind of solve our problem. So we'll give that a moment here. And give this a refresh. And now it's outputted. We're going to give this another refresh here. We'll drop this down. We have our first section. So we have our question, introduction, conversation, question, right? Then we have our next one, introduction, conversation, question. Then we have our next one, introduction, conversation, question. So this one's looking really good. This is what I want. This is perfect. We'll go to the next one. Introduction, conversation, question. I don't know what the difference between the first and second section is, but I'll have to read that later. Let's go to the next one. We have question, situation, question, question. This one's a little bit weirder formatted. Here we have question. Oh, situation, question. So yeah, I'm not exactly sure what to do with that section. I don't really care. We'll just the first and second section are pretty good, but the problem with the first section again is we don't have images to show them. Now we could show text, which is totally fine, but we need to enrich it. So what we need is we need an answer or a description of what the possible answers could be. But if there's an image, then we need to describe what that image is, right? And then we need to generate it out. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to say, can you, I'm just trying to think about this for a second. First, I'm going to accept all changes. And I guess what I want is, like, this data is incomplete. I need it to have the possible answers. Okay. For section 1, we need to show the possible, need to show an image. So I need an image description of the possible 4 options. For section 1, we need to show an image. So I need an image description of the possible options. The other thing is that, you know, if we don't have an image, then we would have text. But the problem is that some of these questions, if you don't use an image and use text, you're kind of giving away some of the answer, right? Or, you know, now you're bringing them out of Japanese into English. And so by never showing English text, that might be a little bit better. But we could also just show Japanese text as the possible options, but that might make it a little bit hard. So I'm not sure about that. For section 1, we need to show an image. So I need an image description of possible options that is part of the question's output. Can you update the prompt? And so let's see what we get. The only problem is, like, how am I going to get a good output for that? Amazon Bedrock also has an image prompt, and so that might be something that we might want to try to play around with. I will probably log in. They'll use Stable Diffusion, I believe, but I'm going to actually log into AWS, and we're going to explore that together and see if it can even do that, like get what we want as our output. I'm going to just run this again, and I think it replaces it there, so that's not a big deal. And I'm just logging into my AWS account off screen here. Okay, and so we're generating out that structured output. We're going to go over to Bedrock. Okay, and I want to see if that output is there now. Options. So now it's saying options here, which is fine. And this one technically is right. It's like pagey, whatever. The only problem with this is that, like, these are technically the options that we have, and they're not that bad. But again, now you have to parse the Japanese text as opposed to a thing. So it's up to us whether we want to fix that. But, like, I'm going to go over here for a second and copy this one here. And I want to go over to Claude. This is a Japanese test question. The choices need to be displayed, the 4 choices to be displayed as an image. Can you write me an image prompt? And so I'm going to provide it this. I didn't say make me it. I said No, I said image prompt. So I can generate an image with something like Stable Diffusion. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this here. And now that I'm logged to Amazon Bedrock, I'm going to go over to the playground for images. And we'll select a model. We have Titan as an image generator. Canvas. Real is for videos. Like if you're afraid of spend, don't do this, but I'm going to go ahead and do this because I don't care. And I'm going to go ahead and run this and we'll see what we get. Now this is a little bit slow, so I'm not, again, if this is too hard, we'll just leave it on the wayside here, but it's something that would be nice. So that's no good. That's not going to work. So a minimalist education test layout on a clean white background displaying Japanese text. The layout has a definition of the top. So I would say this output for the prompt is not good. So I go back to this and say, you know, the output is no good. It should be white background, black and white, line drawings. It should have 4 images, 4 boxes of images. Okay, no other text around it. Okay, so we'll go ahead and do this. I'm going to go ahead and grab this one. It thinks it's using Stable Diffusion. And I actually have or Discord, what's it called? Midjourney. And I actually have a Midjourney account, so I can go over there and try it out. I'll just try this out for a second here. Midjourney. I'm just logging in. I got to really cancel Midjourney. It's not as good as it used to be. But I want to just see what happens if I put the prompt in. So I'm doing this off screen here, so you're not seeing me do it. But I'm going to try and generate out this again for Amazon Bedrock. So try this again. And maybe what it really should be is like generate 4 separate images, and I might have an easier time doing it. So go over here, and so this is actually not bad. But the question is it descriptive of it? So 4-panel layout of pure white background, line art, illustration, minimalist architecture, panel, a simple line drawing with stairs with a wall next to it. Panel 2, a simple line drawing of a store shopping, a simple line drawing of a department store sign. Panel 4, clean thin back lines, architectural sketch, no text, no shading, etc., etc. So you have those 4 there. And I don't know if it's really descriptive of what it is. You'd have to know what this says here. But if I take a look here, I'll make it a little bit larger so I can kind of read it. So here we have departo, so a department, right? Ona no hito, so a man. Ona no hito, ona. And then somebody that works at mise no hito, someone that works at a shop, and they're talking. Hanashitemasu, so they're talking together. And so the man asks, says, wa doko ikimasu ka? So he's asking where something is. No, sumimasen. So it's setting up saying like the man's going to ask, where is it? No, sumimasen. Oterairu. So he's asking where the bathroom is. Oterai wa doko desu ka? So he's saying like, where is the bathroom? And the lady's saying, okay, well, the bathroom is over there. There's the stairs. Okay, so I remember this. This actually has to have a map. So there's really no way that this is any good. Right? So to be able to draw this out, I'll show you actually what it's supposed to look like. It's totally fine if this doesn't work because, you know, we're finding the limits of it. But this is the drawing of the thing that's going on. So here, you see the stairs over here, right? And then over here, you have the bags, right? And so in the text, it's going, the toilet, it's over there. So if you look at the stairs, it is beside the stairs, right? So it's saying it's beside the stairs. Yoko ni gozaimasu. So beside the stairs. I think this is yoko. And he says, kan oriba no moko de desu ne. And so basically it's confirming, saying, okay, so she's saying it's beside the stairs. He says across, like opposite of the bag store. And it's like, yes. So this is where it is. So the question is, can we even get that illustration, right? So that's kind of another problem where if we don't have this information, right, from the video, there's no way we're going to get the result we want. But what I'm going to do is copy this here. And we'll drop it into Claude here. Okay, this is the image. This is the original image. Can you describe it so we can generate it? And this is where you kind of have a challenge. So you might have a question that is always about directions, right? And to get what you want, maybe instead of generating an image, you'd actually use something that would generate out a layout. And so it's not like this is the best scope that we want here, but you can see this is where we're kind of having a bit of a challenge. And so here it goes. Let me create a more precise top-down architectural floor plan with this, top-down stairs, whatever. I don't know if like it could even make that. Like if we go and ask this to Amazon Bedrock, I don't see how it could even generate that, but I'll give it a try. And I'm going to go back over to here, to this. I'm going to give it a try here, but I can't imagine. Yeah, I don't care about the aspect ratio. Just take that out of there. Okay. And maybe the negative prompt should have went in the negative prompt if there even is one here. And there actually was a negative prompt over here. They're actually providing it to us. And I didn't paste it in the correct location. But actually, look at that. That actually is not bad. But was it accurate to the description provided? Right? So if I take this here, I want to make it larger. Can I make it larger? Download this here. And we open this up. Right? So we look at this. I'm not sure why there's shoes everywhere. But we are getting an illustration, right? So this is where we kind of run into some challenges. But you can see that we have stairs over here. This is book. It's just all weird stuff. So that one's not going to work for us. Let's go to the next one. Again, I mean, like, it's a thing, but it's not accurate to what its output is, right? And we go over to this one. Again, I'm not sure if it worked. I had animals, so I was trying to tell like a story as an example. We'll go back over to here. And so we look at this one. That's a mess. That's a mess. That's a mess. That's a mess. So, I mean, it's cool that we have diagrams. But the problem is that it's not reflective of the description. So that's not going to work. So the only way this might work is like we generate out an image first, right? And then we frame the question around it. But then that kind of destroys our whole RAG process here, right? So that's where I'm kind of struggling. So what do we do? Because we want this to do something, but I don't think this is going to work unless we change the scope of it, where we say, okay, we're not relying on images and we're just going to have text. But is that useful? I don't know. Because if we can't see the image here, right, we can't answer it. And so then the question fundamentally has to change. But we need the visual to do it. So the next thing I would say is like, okay, is there a way to generate an architecture? So like, the image is generated. So I'm going to go back over here. So is there a way to generate out a floor plan with some visual mock-up language. That's what I want to know. Using mermaid. Oh, could it use mermaid? Okay, that's no good. Like real floor plan. Now it's trying to use SVG. I can't imagine it can do it. I really don't think it can do it, but we'll let it try. Actually, that's not bad. Okay, great. Can you, let's give it something more advanced. So I'm gonna go back to the other one, and we'll go back to our history here. And we'll say, you know, can you make a floor plan based on this description? Okay. But the only way this is going to work is that we'd have to basically we'd have to make question types, like literally what we want it to be, and generate derivatives. So if we wanted to show like based on directions, we would have to really, really engineer that specific one because it just can't handle generic questions and generic image generation. Or we have to creatively think about it and generate the image first as a result and then figure it out there. Okay, so like, okay, but where's the rooms? Yeah. But notice like this isn't gonna work if it has to do it multiple times. Unless there's a way to self-reflect and look at the images. So, I don't know. I think we might have something that's impossible to do. So it looks a little bit better, but that's still not going to help us. Okay, is there a SketchUp language for floor plans? No, not ASCII. I mean like a real thing. Yeah, but like architecture software, floor plans, but open source and programmatic. Yeah, and it seems to be confused. I'm gonna go here and ask Perplexity. Is there any software? Is there any open source software that can produce architectural floor plans via code that look good? Okay, so that's what I'm asking. And so we're going through here, and so FreeCAD. I don't know what FreeCAD is. Let's take a look here. So FreeCAD is one. An open source building information library tool. Let's take a look at this one. Blender. We're not going to use Blender. That's insane. We'll go here. Great. Say, can you generate the floor plan as a file for FreeCAD? Can it do that? Or is that too hard? I don't know. Like, okay, but previously. You know, so here, like, we're going to struggle. The only thing I can think of is like 4 images or 4 options. I don't know. So it does have a stare symbol and stuff like that. So that's kind of interesting. Maybe this is not the best thing to do, but I'm just curious. I'm going to see if we can do it. FreeCAD. I'm not suggesting folks to actually do this, but I'm just curious to see if it can actually do it. And we'll do x64. We'll download that. I'm going to wait for that to finish downloading. I may not even run that. So, you know, maybe what we could do, let's just think about this another way. Maybe what we can do is like, okay, you know, can you review all the questions and tell me tell me how many rely on an image, and tell me, and can you review all the questions and tell me in a bullet list, single for each question, if it would rely on an image to determine the answer. That's what I want to know, because maybe there are questions that don't, right? So then we just keep them out of the filter. And we'll give that a moment. All right, so let's take a look and see what it analyzed. So yes, needs the image to be shown, spatial layout. No, answer is clear from conversation. Yes, 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 no. Answer is clear from conversation. No, answer is no, 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 no. And so the thing is that what we really want is to know if they need that or not. So 5 out of the 18 would benefit from having the images. This makes sense as section 1 appears to be testing spatial visual comprehension. Okay, so basically now what we need to do is we need to eliminate questions from our stuff. So, okay, how can we eliminate questions which require spatial, which require an image to understand? That's what I'm asking it. Because if we can do that, then we're back to doing good stuff. Because I just don't think image generation is there, or it will require a very, very considerable amount of work to get it to do what we want. And here, I think it's focusing on part 1. Okay. And so we're going to go back over to here. And I actually don't need it to run. I don't know, I did that. I shouldn't have done that. So we'll just stop that for a second. And so we'll go back over to here, section 3. So I would say, you know, can we apply that to section 2 as well? Okay. And so then we'll be in a place where we can, you know, see what we need to see, right? It likely won't remove any questions since they were already dialogue based. This is consistent with the typical format where section 2 tends to focus more on comprehension of spoken information rather than visual elements. So maybe we shouldn't be doing the first section anyway if the second section is more about spoken elements. Okay, but it does seem to suggest that some of them require an image. Let's go back up to here and take a look. Actually, no, none of them require a section. So maybe we can just skip section 2. Okay, so, can we comment out section 2 for now? Because obviously section 1 is just not going to work for us. Okay, great. And so I'm going to go ahead and accept all the changes once it's done. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to delete out these sections, just make sure that this goes good here. We'll go ahead and hit up. It seems like section 2 is probably our best bet, right? Okay, we'll go back over to here. So it's a, would we benefit to storing our questions in, one second here. All right, so now that we have this stuff, the question is like, will we benefit storing our questions in a vector store? Because the app we are creating needs to reference the existing database of possible questions and generate derivatives. Via an LLM. Let's see if that works, because that's what I don't know. Semantic search. When generating derivative questions, we want to find similar questions based on their context, structure, and topic. A vector store would allow us to perform semantic similarity searches. We can use the vector store to quickly find relevant questions to use as examples. We can store not just the text, but also the structure format as metadata, making it easier. Let me propose an implementation using ChromaDB, which is what we're using. But I think it knows it because it's in our code base, right? But really, we should be doing this over here in our vector, in there. It says vector store. I didn't really want it to do that, because we want to treat these as separate isolate stuff, right? Like, we'll give it a moment here. I'll let it finish, but I really didn't want it to be this aggressive, and this is my problem that I chose write and not chat. Or I told it maybe don't change any files, let's just talk about it. We'll wait for this to generate. All right, let's take a look at what it did. So we have here vector store. I'll have to zoom out so I can see what's going on. It's using OpenAI. I'm not sure why it's changing. I mean, we could use that for embedding, I suppose, but now we're kind of mixing stuff here. I'd rather just continue on with Amazon Bedrock for embedding models. Here, it's taking a look at the collections that we have here and inserting them. It's adding the questions. So here we have add questions. So only sections 2 and 3 are currently supported. And it's going to enumerate through the questions. How does it know that it's going to break up each question, right? So I mean, this is fine and all, but like the problem is that if you have this, right? Like I don't plan on, like, I can see that example questions, you want to parse from these text files. So sections 2, add questions to the vector store. So I'm trying to make sense of this. Here we have example uses. So here we have the storage. Here's an example question. add it, but it's not in this structure though. Okay, so that's kind of annoying. We go back up to over here, it's just putting it back into a document. So, I don't understand, like, first of all, we are using Amazon Bedrock. So we don't want to change. Also, what did it change over in our other one, our structured data here? Right, so it's parsing the questions, which I guess is something you can do here. Which is fine, I suppose, but I mean, maybe just say like, use Amazon Bedrock to do the embeddings, not OpenAI, because then we'd have to use another one. I don't want to really mix things up. I'm not sure if it would use the latest one here, but we'll take a look here. It's going to remove the OpenAI reference. And you can see here, like we have, why does it say video ID? There is no video ID. It's just kind of weird that well, I guess there is a video ID up there, so I'm actually not, that's not completely wrong. We'll give it a moment there to work there. We'll be back here in just a moment. Let's take a look at what it did. So created a new function class. Why does it have to make a whole freaking class for that? Embedding interface uses Amazon Bedrock Titan embedding. It really wants to use Amazon Titan embedding. So, is there a newer embedding than Amazon Titan embed text for, well, I mean, we could just probably check, because I know that I'm logged in somewhere here. AWS, give me a second here. So we just go look at the models. Maybe we can find it that way. Go to the model catalog, embeddings. And so they have a version 2. What's the difference? Multilingual support with 100 languages. We'll go to the other one. Does the other one have multilingual support? Because if it doesn't, then we really shouldn't be using the other one. So we'll go over to this one here. It says V2, G1 text. Ball supports plus 25 different languages optimized for text retrieval. And does it have Japanese in here? It does. So we can use the first one. I don't know how much of a difference it will make based on the embeddings. Embeddings will change how it stores the data, like to turn into the numbers. But that's totally fine. So here we have the questions being parsed, stuff like that. No need for additional APIs or services, Titan embeddings. Consistent infrastructure, and this function now handles it. I wonder if it got rid of the old junk in here. I think so. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to accept this, okay? Okay. So now that we have that, there's not in our rag file, so this is kind of pointless here. I don't really care. We can go ahead and just delete this. It's fine. It'd be nice to have it, but we can have it over here as well. Now the question is, how do I test it? So we go down below here. We have an example here of using the service. So let's go ahead and see if we can do that. So I'm going to go ahead and say Python backend vector store. So the number of requests is 5 is greater than the number of the index 1, updating the results 1. Okay, just explain. I don't know if this is bad or not, but let's just like, can you explain it to me? Because we're only bringing in 1, so that makes sense. So can you explain this? Please don't change code. I'll move it over to chat. We only added one question to the vector store, the birthday question, but in the search, we were asking for 5 results. Where are we asking for 5? It's telling us we can't return 5 results. There's only one. This is expected behavior. I guess that kind of makes sense. And so then here we have our text that we want to provide, right? Okay, where are we getting this N5? So like where are we specifying 5 results? I see it now, method. We have a default parameter of results N1 with 5. And we can call it in the code in the bottom. We don't specify end results, so use the default 5 since we've only added the questions to the database. And that's fine. Now, I guess my question is, like, we need to insert all the data. So let's go back over to structured data here. And I need to figure out how to run this. Okay, so can we say, can we So what I'm trying to understand is that, it does parse the questions and it adds it to the vector store. So I don't really like how this is fully integrated because it really should be separated. So the one outputs a file and imports it. And so it's pulling in the vector store. So I'm going to go here, accept it. And I want to say, like, I want the vector store .py and the, what was it called? And the structured data scripts to be isolate. You updated it so that the structured data is inserting directly into the vector store. I would rather have the parsing being done by reading the outputted files from the vector, from the structured data. I would rather the parsing be done by reading the output from the structured data by the vector store file. Because then we're coupling our code very tightly, and I want them to be decoupled, right? And please proceed to decouple the code as asked. Okay, and so we'll go ahead and ask that, because then that way we'll get a better result. So we'll give it a moment there to fix that issue. All right, so hopefully it is removed that code, and so now those things are isolate. We are still using the light model. We could probably go back to the micro, but I'm just getting good results with this one. I don't really want to fiddle with it more. So here's removing the vector store. If we go down below, it's removing all this code as I did not ask for it to put it in there. And so now that stuff is in isolate, which is better. Let's go over to the vector store and see if it's added it. And so the parser is over here. And we can see here it's adding those questions and then chunking them there. And so this is a much better solution to what I'm looking for. So I'm going to go ahead and add that. And the only thing is that this is going to both insert that stuff, but also do that as well. We probably want a larger data set to work with, and we'd have to grab all the transcriptions. It would be useful if the way that API works is if it grabbed everything from all those YouTube videos, and I suppose we could change it to do that. I'm just trying to decide whether I want to do that or not, because I don't know what the consistency of the videos are between each one. Now, normally they generally will follow this kind of pattern, but like those 3 sections, but maybe we could pull all those questions and do that and get rich data. But for now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to accept this. I'm not sure where it's storing the data, by the way. Oh, it's over here. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and try and run this. So we're going to go here to the back end, As the front end's totally fine. We don't need to do, we don't have to change the structured data. But we'll run this. And so what I'm hoping is that it's going to iterate through. So it says parsing error with list object, not an iterator. I'm going to go ahead and copy this and paste it back in. I'm going to just accept this here. And if it can correct this one issue, which is just apparently a formatting issue with objects or steps here, then we'll have data imported. It's not, again, not a lot of questions, but maybe it's the start of it. If we have more time, we can go back and update the YouTube stuff. But even after this, we need to get the data, figure out how to utilize this similarity search in a useful way, and then display the choices there as options. Okay, so we have this here. We have some formatting things. I'm going to just run this manually. Hopefully that works. It'd be really nice if it works. There we go. Inserts existing embeddings. Index 6 questions, and 5 questions. So I guess my question is, like, when we want a type of thing, or chat here, so we'll stop it. So, like, you know, are questions 2 and 3 being inserted into the same vector store? Like when we do a similarity search, is it going across all possible questions, or are they segmented as each as a collection? That's what I don't know, because I don't know what the concept of collection is. I assume it's just stuff within the vector store or another SQLite database. Okay, so they're in separate. Okay, so they're separate sections. So we go here. So look at the code. It's segmented. When we search, we specifically query the collection for that section. Oh, so number 2 is section 2. That's what it's saying in this code. Section 2 questions are only compared with section 2, and section 3 are only with 3. That makes sense. Okay. It prevents irrelevant cross-section matches. It allows for section-specific optimizations if needed. So that's kind of a start. The thing is, like, I can't imagine we would have that much data in the 3rd section, and that might be kind of annoying, but section 2 seems to be the most reliable for us to search against. And section 3 would probably have to be structured differently for the thing. So just understand that section 2 is our main section. All the other ones just don't really work right now. So I'm just thinking about this for a second, and we now have a similarity search that we can utilize. So what I would like to do is think about the next part, which is the interactive part. And so they say it over here, but yeah. And I know that Duan broke it all in those parts, but I just want to get this done. So I'm really just going to focus on this last section, which is the interactive learning, right? Because this is implemented, this is implemented, this is implemented. I don't want to figure this out in the interface. I just want to focus on interactive learning. So I'm going to accept this. I want to commit this code as my WIP. I don't want to commit the vector store, so because that's kind of large. So in here, I'm going to make a .getIgnore. I want to ignore the vector store. Store data here. And I'm going to go 2 levels in here so that it ignores that as well, because that's going to be too much for us if we have to commit that. I'm just going to commit this one individually right now. So I'm just going to say add stage, add ignore. Okay. And then it should, if we refresh this, it should ignore that. I'm going to say ignore. Because of performance reasons, it's recommended to ignore by pattern if possible. I mean, I certainly would love to that. Yeah, I mean, like, we could also just ignore the .bins and the SQLite 3 files. That might be a better strategy here. So we might go .bin. .SQLite 3. There we go, and that's a lot better. I'm going to go and just commit. So now it's a lot smaller, right? And so I'm just going to go here because I don't want to commit that entire database, or that, yeah, the entire database there. So we'll say stage. And so again, this is work in progress. So work in progress, implement the vector store, parsing questions, and ensuring the structure of questions are correct. I don't know, something like that. And so we'll commit that. And now what I want is, well, I lost where I was here a second ago, but back over to here, local files, here we go. And so now what I want is I want that final implementation. Now we still need audio to text, and that's something we can figure out as a separate step. But I'm going to go and take a look at this here. And we have render interactive stage. And so what I want to do here is I think we can go here and say, if I select this here, right? And we say select, I think it's the select, is that what it is? We have @, selection. This is probably from GitHub Copilot, because I get them mixed up here, but the idea is that I want to go here and just say, we'll bring this into chat. It's probably providing those specific lines. I'm going to say, now that we have our vector store implemented with data, we need to implement this front-end code. So we should be able to ask for a type of question to be generated. It should use vector search to pull similar questions, and then use that for RAG to generate the question and then display it. Should still be using Amazon Bedrock with Nova models. Okay, so I'll go ahead and do that, and I'm just hoping that it does it, you know, because I just want it done. There's one part that's not complete, which is the audio generation, but we'll give this a moment, okay? All right, let's take a look and see if it did our work for us. So I'm going up here, not exactly where we need to, oh, it did quite a bit. Use, no, that's not it. Nope, that's not it. Oh, you know what? Sorry, you were on chat mode. Please try now to implement what you wanted to. And now we'll see what it can do. All right, so now this is generated. Let's go take a look here. So created question generator.py. I'm not sure where this was created, because here it was trying to do an interactive, right? Oh, here it is. Okay. Nova Lite, invoke Bedrock. So it's using invoke model. It's interesting because I don't want to use conversational model. It doesn't really matter. I mean, like, if we're having a conversation, then sure. And the other ones we aren't, but we are using the Converse API if we want to get tool use, right? But I guess my thought is, like, if we want this to call out and do RAG, wouldn't we need to do that? Or we could do that in a separate step. So we'll go look here, generate similar question. Right, and so here we have this being utilized here, but this is not the way that I think Duan wanted us to use this, because again, Amazon Bedrock Converse API has tool use built into it, right? And so what we could do, that's kind of hard to say because like RAG occurs before you do that, but if we want to generate out the voice stuff, then that could come afterwards. See, I'm not sure. I mean, like, this is still going to work, but, you know, should I stick to Duan's vision of using tool use and having that or continue on this. And this is where I don't really know. Because like if we had an agent, then the agent would have been more powered. So I don't know, maybe we'd have to rethink this. But as long as it works, that's all I care about. Create prompt for generating a new question. Based on the following example, listening questions, create a new question about topic. The question should follow the same format, different examples. Make sure the questions test listening comprehension and has a correct answer. The other challenge is like, how is this going to tie back to our learning exercises? Because unless there are keywords that we know that are being used for our language portal, how is it going to grade that? And so we would have to then parse it and then determine if any of those words are used and then ping it back to the language portal, which we didn't figure out here. But let's take a look here and say, generate a new question following the exact same as format, including all components. Make sure the question is challenging but fair and the options are plausible. Not the best prompt, but it's fine. We go down here and we take a look. That looks okay. And so we're getting data here. If we go back to our main.py, it's incorporating it. And you can see we don't have the audio feature, which is totally fine, but we'll go ahead and accept all changes. I want to now go and run this and see if it works. And we'll say back end, we'll say front end here, sorry, ls. No. We'll do Streamlit. Unless we're already running on another tab. No, we're not. So we'll say Streamlit, front end, main.py. We got to put run in front of it. Always kind of forget to do that. So we'll go ahead and do that. And I'm going to go back to over here to this one. And I'm going to give this a nice refresh. And so here we see some import issues because it didn't import it. So we'll go ahead and tell that. It just needs to put the import statements at the top, probably. Yeah, I didn't import it. Hold on. No. Are you sure? Didn't import it into main.py? Because it was going really in the wrong direction there. Yeah. See, that's what it was. Again, you can't just let it do whatever it wants. You have to check. And even though I'm not looking at everything, I'm looking enough to know that it wasn't doing that. So we'll go ahead and accept that change. And I don't need it to run it, but I'll go ahead and stop this and start it up again. And we're going to go back over to our browser. We'll give this a refresh. Okay, and we'll go down to interactive learning, which is this section here. And so here, we have daily conversation, shopping, select topic. This is not what I really want. I mean, it's fine, but why can't I choose my own topic, right? So I don't like the topics. Dialogue practice, phrase matching. So it's interesting now we can toggle between those two here. But let's just, even though I don't like these topics, I mean, they're just fields, but we'll go ahead here and choose restaurant. Okay, we'll generate the new question. We'll see what happens. I get nothing. We'll go back over to here. And we'll go ahead and grab this. And so it's clearly formatting it wrong, and we'll let it try to fix that in the main.py. We'll give it a moment there. Give it just a second. So here it might have corrected that format. So yeah, that's going to help it right there. I'm going to go, yeah, it's using the old one. And so we'll go ahead and stop this and start it back up. Again, if I'm writing this by hand, I'd probably get much better code. But, again, we just want to get things done. So we'll go ahead and give this a refresh here. And we'll go back into interactive learning. We have daily conversation. We'll generate a new question. We're going to see what we get back. And Do we get an error? So really, it's just really configured wrong. Can we just use Converse API instead? Like how we do in the chat.py and fix these API issues. Okay. Invoke model makes the most sense to use, but when its output isn't like formatted in a consistent way, and it's really annoying. And then even if this happens, then we're going to be questioning like, what is the output back from Nova Pro? Let's just tell it to be consistent with the new one, even though invoke model makes a little bit more sense. And we'll wait a moment here for this to be changed. Updated the message format, simplify the response handling to extract the text content. Should now work properly. Oh yeah, sure, right. We'll see. We'll go back over to here. We'll refresh this. We'll go back to this. We'll generate a new question. We're going to wait a moment here. We get back a scenario. So we have Kaisha no aide otoko no kaishain to ona no kaishain. So they're at work. There's a guy and a man at work, and they're having a conversation. This is looking really good so far. So I guess my question is like, I'm gonna go to chat and I want to ask it like, this is the result. This is the result I got back. Is this an original question, or is it very similar to an existing one? Can you check our questions files, text files, to determine? Because I want to know if the result that came back, if it's good, right? Like if it's exactly the same as another one, it's fine. It depends if it's a derivative, but we'll see here. We'll give it a moment. So here it's saying different setting, different food options, different conversation structure. No, I mean, it seems that it's suggesting. Okay. Again, this would take manual verification, using it over several tries. Maybe I will find out as I use it. But here we can see we have the conversation going. The other thing is that when they're talking, it goes between two different people. So if we want good audio output, then the thing that we would probably have to do is we would have to have if it was a man or a woman, we'd have to have different voices to play out that conversation. That you'd have one specifically signed for the actual narration, because you'd have to watch the other one. There's someone that narrates. Then there is two people or three or four people having a conversation. So I'm looking at this, and we have this one here. And then there's the question. So two people at work. The man at work says, Kyo wa nani o tabe yo ga kangaimasu, to think. So I'm guessing here it's, what do you think about to eat, right? Now, like today, what, eating, to eat, think about. Like, what do you think about? And so here we have po ze pizza wa do desu ka? Do you think we should have pizza? And then we have here the woman saying, pizza wa ii desu ne. Demo watashi wa hamburger, she's talking about a burger, ski desu. So she likes pizza, but pizza's good, but I like a hamburger. And here we have the man saying, so desu ka? So it's an inflection because so desu is like, oh, it is? So it is, like as a question. Ja. And then we have here pizza to hamburger no dochira ii desu ka? And then she says pizza de, and this is a word I should know. Is that like an error word? I think it's to decide. Okay, so I think she says, I decided on pizza. And so that means the answer is pizza. So here it says, kare wa, so they, do taberu koto ni shimasu ka? So, what are they going to be eating? And the answer is pizza. So I'm going to submit that, see if I got it right. And we got an error, but that is the answer. So, when I try to submit the answer, I get this. The other thing that would be nice is like, can we see the question we had generated before and build in the base of it? But clearly, like the question generated is really good, but the next layer of it would be like, okay, we need to solve how we would generate out the audio. And you'd have to split it up in the conversation. And so now you need more structure because you need to know more about who's saying what, like who are the speakers in the conversation for the audio. Error's happening because our generated question doesn't have the options field properly populated. Let me go fix that. So it's going to go fix that, okay? All right, so we have here, apologies for the error, let me correct the tool, modify the prompt explicitly exactly for numbered questions. Yeah, because it's always supposed to return 4 for those, but we'll go ahead and stop and restart it. I'm going to make my way back over to the application itself, and we'll give this another go. Now, I would like to have more options or be able to choose a topic, but I guess because this is the JLPT, we really should probably limit the amount of things they can enter for generation and keep it nice and simple. Now, it should be starting back up. Maybe I messed this up here. I need to put the run back in here. We'll go ahead and do that. And we'll give this a nice refresh here. I'll go back over to here. I'm going to go to our daily conversation. I'll say travel. We'll try this one. And so here we have, and really likes to do the boy-girl thing because that's what all these questions have in them. But we have the man and the woman, Ryoko, so traveling. No, I'm not sure what that is. Ni itsu de anashite masu. So we're talking about traveling. I'm not sure what that is. So here, butsu. So butsu wa dosu hi. And we're looking about traveling. Watashi wa ikon. Ironba. So I'm, again, not doing the best here. Maybe that's the location, but we go through here and then we have an option. So I can see here they're talking about like location. So down here we have France to like go to France or Germany. So basically, I think they're trying to decide where they want to go, right? Oh, this is Kuni. This word's Kuni right here. So it says here, yoronpo. Oh, Europe. Okay, so the woman in Europe, what country does she want to travel to? And so they're listing them out, and so we'd have to figure it out. Now, I'd have to spend more time trying to read the question, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just submit the answer, see what we get. And we still get this. Come on. It's not even trying here to help us. You serious? Come on. Did you? Oh, you know what? It's in right. Great. Sorry. Can you update the code for me? That's why we're in chat mode. I was about to blame the tool, but the problem was the tool user. So we'll give that a moment to generate. But yeah, I could see the trick here is like we would still need the audio, right? And we would need it to extract it out so it could play the audio file and parse it together. We'd also probably need FFmpeg because FFmpeg would be used to like stitch the audio together. And we'd have to install that. I don't know why it's taking so freaking long to implement this. Can we just accept all change? Like what's going on here? You going or what? Let's stop here. Try again. Try again. It shouldn't take that long. We'll give it a moment. When server Claude's a bit slow here, I updated the code to ensure questions have the 3 things. We'll go ahead and accept that. We'll go back. We'll stop it. We'll restart it. We'll take a look. We'll see if it works now. And so now we'll go here. I'll generate out another question by going to interactive learning. I'm going to go ahead and choose restaurant this time. We'll generate it out. I'm not going to check what it is. I'm just going to choose one and submit the answer. I just want to see. Come on. Like, what is going on? We already told it to fix this. Come on. Fix it. 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 Come on. Fix it. Just fix it. It's because I'm almost 2 hours in here. I'm getting kind of tired. There's happening because we were trying to access correct answer from the feedback dictionary when it might be none. Let me fix it in the front end. Okay, great. I thought that's what you were doing in the first place. Maybe because it edited this one and that's our problem. Okay, I wasn't paying attention. Let's go and give it another moment. It's still editing, I guess. But I'm just thinking like, okay, we get this working and then audio generation. But audio generation, again, requires multiple voices. It needs FFmpeg to put natural spacing in it. Now the feedback display should work without errors. We'll go ahead and do this. Okay, so we'll go ahead and stop this and start this again. And we'll try this one more time. I'm going to go back up to the top here. We'll run this again. And we will go here. And we'll generate out restaurant. We'll generate that out. We have a scenario. And it doesn't tell us, all it's got to do is tell if it gives us the correct answer. So we don't want feedback. Oh, it's right here, right? We have this right here. Unable to generate feedback. So the correct answer is this. The interface is kind of confusing. So, when I choose my answer, I get feedback form pop up, feedback which it can't do. And it's not clear if I got the answer correct or wrong. It tells me the correct answer in the side, but it's confusing. Can you make the UI less confusing? Okay, so we'll go ahead and do that. Okay, and we'll give it a moment to do that. All right, so it's made UI improvements. Let's go take a look here and see what we get. We're going to run this again. I'm going to go back over to here. I'm going to bring this on down. We're going to give this a hard refresh. We are going to go down to the ground to this one here. And I mean, all this other stuff is okay, but I really just need this interactive section now because it's in such a good working state. I'm going to go ahead and generate this one out and we'll give it a moment. And so now we have this. I'm going to choose my answer, submit. And now it's really, really clear, right? So that was my answer. This is the correct answer, right? That's perfect. So now the next thing I'd like to do is just say like rip out all the stuff I'm not using. So I'm going to go ahead to back to Get Smart and just say like refined. We're going to stage all changes here. Just say refined UI. And I'm going to go back here and accept all the changes. We're going to say, okay, we are only using the, we'll go back to the main. The render interactive stage. Can we rip out everything else in the Streamlit in the main.py, including the sidebar, so we can just focus on that stage. So we'll go ahead and let it do that. We'll do a bit of cleanup, and I don't know, we're 2 hours in, and I'm just deciding whether I want to do the audio part or leave it for you folks here. I think I'll do a little bit of it. But just give me a moment. All right, so I think it's ripped out all the stuff here. Let me take a look. Render chat stage. No, it's still working, so we're just gonna let me try to clean up more. Yeah, because there's still a lot in here. We'll give it a moment. We'll be back in just a moment. All right, let's see what it's saying. Now let me replace the old files with the new ones. What old files? Oh, so try to simplify from, yeah, sure, fine, why not? And so I guess it did a full replace here. Okay, so let's take a look and see what we have. And maybe our app will be just a bit more slimmed down here. So we'll go back over to here, give us a nice hard refresh. And so now it's exactly that. So we have dialogue practice. We can choose our topic. We'll generate it, make sure it still works. It is generating, there we go. And we'll choose an example here, and we'll click this. And we have this. So I would say what I'm missing now, it'd be nice to have the history of it. So if I want to go practice the same one, I can do that. But what's missing here is the audio, right? But I'm going to stop the video here and break this into 2 separate videos because this is getting pretty loaded up. So let me go ahead. I'm just going to go and commit this. And we'll say stage. Stage. I'm just say like clean. Removed all unused UI components, right? And so we'll go ahead and do that. And we'll do that for the next video.